Who knows what he was going to say?
Checks out in disinterest.
We're just going to start in a few minutes. We're finishing up the live stream. We have people all over the world tuning in. We appreciate you coming here with us on this beautiful Sunday afternoon. We're just going to get started in a few minutes. While we're waiting, go ahead and introduce yourself to somebody next to you, and go ahead and share one of your favorite Flaco memories and get to know this community, because it's a solid crew and Flaco really meant a lot to us. So go ahead and mingle for the next few minutes, and then we'll get started.
Where is that live stream? Where can you see it?
It's in the works.
It's in the work right now.
What?
It's not finalized.
Where can you see it? No, where will it be?
We'll let you know. We'll let you know.
You don't know.
That's the answer.
We don't know which account is going to show up.
He's on it now.
Okay.
I know the parents.
Hi, can I talk to you about Flaco? Of course. There's some TV.
He's going to stand in the screen.
Look at this. Wait to the word.
Yeah.
Did you ever actually see Flaco?
So I have my master's and I do my thesis with Vicky. So when you talk about Victor parrots, two native parrots, Carolina parrot, thick-billed parrot, still around, but needs these old growth pine trees, and so we don't have a lot of them. We've seen them more like in Arizona, and that's actually about wildlife.
Bluetooth mode.
Oh, so I studied animals.
We have a friend in Colorado. Mark.
It's wonderful.
He's an old friend of mine.
Everybody think like, yeah, no, I think it's all about sound.
He's got a new book he started off with wolves.
Yes.
Now he's doing dogs.
But does he still go in? He used to go into the freezer.
Yeah.
Still do that. We visited him. You're here.
Yeah, and I did 3 drawings of him.
That's great. A lot about welfare, but they've co-authored some books together. She said they're going to start. So once again, she did a really fabulous book last very hard to read book.
I mean, they went back there.
Yeah.
I read it when I lost I do. What I don't have to do, I work with Lola. It's Lola's so hungry, Kevin, sick. So the latest thing, what if you got her found? Then you have to maintain. I know, and I reckon she loves to sing. They have a fascination tonight. So thank you. To be here. Yeah, they think I'm maybe she causes joy. She's got a well, it's nice. It's nice that
I think she comes in more to get about and then she gets to
She's very lovely. I mean, the studies show that cats, when they are heading in some directions, that that's why I see you later, but talk to you later. I will. I did not train well, are you a smart intermittent reinforcement is one of them. You know about learning theory? I do. It applies to all species. All of them.
All right. Welcome. Is that a little louder? Not too loud? How's that? How's the sound? Louder?
Stand behind the speakers.
That's the limit, y'all. I'll try to talk as loud as I can. Thank you so much for joining us today at Flaco's favorite oak tree here in Central Park. I just want to shout out to everybody on the live stream right now. We know we have people all over the world tuning in. Thank you so much for joining us and taking time out of your weekend to honor Flaco today. We have quite a lineup. We're going to say a few opening words from some of our core key players that documented Flaco's journey for the world to see. And then we're going to go ahead and pass off to open mic for anybody that would like to share a story about how Flaco impacted them, what he meant to them. You can go ahead and make your way over here where Stacy is going to be managing our line, our queue, that you can just start to line up over there. We're going to do open mic for about 30 to 45 minutes. We'll be here till sundown. And then as the sun is setting, we're going to go ahead as a community and just pack up some of the memorial belongings and preserve them as a community to decide what we'd like to do in the future with honoring Flaco. All right, sound good?
Thank you.
All right, so my name's Brianne Delgado, and Flaco really meant a lot to me personally. I'm an astrologer, and so I had my eye on the Leo full moon that happened on February 2nd of last year. So when I saw that a bird had escaped the Central Park Zoo, I said, oh my gosh, that is the most Leo thing ever. How courageous and bold, like a lion. This bird has just completely defied all odds. And following his journey, and so many people were concerned about if Flaco was going to be able to survive on his own, but I always knew deep in my heart that those instincts just never leave you. And he really just became this symbol of freedom and resiliency. I actually wanted to say a few words that I asked folks on my Twitter, my X account. Excuse me, I'm still getting used to that. I asked folks to describe Flaco in one word, and I just wanted to read some of those answers out loud. Unite, dignified, indefatigable, glorious, inspiring, indomitable, intrepid, peace, mosaic, majestic, adventurous, inspiring, joy, sweet, freedom, beloved, regal, heavenly, love, faithful, resourceful, warrior, heroic. One of my friends, Tasha, that lives in Dubai, holds a prayer circle every month, and she said that this past week, people in Dubai, Egypt, here in New York, Barbados, Canada, Guatemala, Peru, and Portugal all lifted Flaco up in prayer. And to me, it was just a beautiful symbol of how this bird really became a global hero with all of this challenging times that is happening all over the world. This bird really became a symbol of hope and brought so many of us together. I mean, look at all the people here and tuning in. I mean, it's incredible. So I wanted to pass the mic off to Jacqueline, who is one of the, I'm so sorry about this mic. I wanted to pass the mic off to Jacqueline, who is one of the photographers that really captured some of those really beautiful shots of Flaco on his journey. So, Jacqueline?
No connection.
It's wonderful to see you all here to honor Flaco. Just want to share a little bit with you. I'm speaking as loudly as I can, folks. One of the things I miss the most is hearing the beautiful sound of Flaco hooting. A small group of us heard Flaco hoot for the first time just 5 days after he escaped from the zoo. After spending the day roosting in an ivy-covered tree on the perimeter of the zoo, Flaco flew out to start his day and crisscrossed each drive. He then landed in a tree on the edge of the crane exhibit. As we watched him settle in, we heard him hoot ever so softly a few times. Each hoot was a barely audible whoo. We listened in astonishment. Later, we overheard a zookeeper tell another birder that Flaco scarcely ever hooted in the zoo. He was just starting to find his voice, though. In time, his hoots would become louder and more confident. Fast forward 11 months. It was 10 o'clock on a Saturday night. We were standing on the corner of West 90th and Broadway. Our cameras mounted to tripods, our lenses pointed towards the sky. Between intermittent breaks in ambient city noise, we listened for hooting. Hoo, hoo. Across the intersection and more than 16 stories up, Flaco's nightly performance had begun. It seems fitting that he hooted on Broadway. His hoots were show-stopping. It was late January, and for most wild owls, it was breeding and nesting season. Flaco chose high perches with good acoustics that allowed his voice to carry. He hooted to attract a mate and to let other owls know that this was his territory. As he hooted, he leaned forward, exposing his bright white throat patch and sticking out his tail. And I say this with love, he looked a bit like an oversized chicken. Curious and possibly tipsy, passers-by would come up to us and ask, "What are you looking at?" When we explained that we were looking at Flaco the Owl, they almost inevitably asked, "How did you find him? How did you know he was here?" Sorry. We pointed him out. To the naked eye, he appeared as little more than a speck atop an apartment building. We moved aside so they could get a closer look on our display screens. A girl and her mother told us that they had been hearing Flaco hoot on recent nights. He must be right outside our building, the girl's mother explained, but we can't see him. We explained where to look, and their faces lit up as they saw Flaco for the first time. We were asked how we found Flaco by countless people on that night and subsequent ones. If you listen, you can hear him hooting, we explained. That's how we find him. Listening to recordings of Flaco hooting brings me comfort and reminds me of the joy I felt every single time I saw him. In honor of Flaco and how happy we were in his presence, I would like to play an audio clip that David recorded in August when Flaco roosted in an elm tree near the North Meadow Recreation Center.
Thanks, Jackie. My name is David. My name is David, and I'm a birder. Over the past week, I've been trying to articulate why Flaco meant so much to so many of us, why we became emotionally attached to him, why we constantly wondered how he was doing, and why we worried about him if he was missing. It's been harder than I thought it would be to articulate the reasons, because of how numerous they are. One reason why Flaco was important to us is the journey we saw him take. Flaco emerged from the zoo into the unwelcoming environment of the city, frightened and alarmed. His ability to fly was limited. He exhausted himself flying short distances, and his landings were clumsy. We heard a crash of branches everywhere he went. And of course, he had never hunted before. We hoped he would be rescued quickly and uneventfully, but Flaco had other ideas, and he transformed himself into a wild bird before our eyes. First, he became more relaxed. He figured out where to roost to attract less attention from hawks, crows, and blue jays, so he could sleep during the day. At night, he practiced flying, and his skill in the air improved rapidly. After 7 days, when we thought he must be very hungry, he taught himself to hunt for the first time. I remember that night near Heckscher ball fields well. I watched him chase rats on the ground for more than half an hour. Then he abruptly stopped in a spot with taller grass where I could not see his talons. When he picked up a huge rat in his beak, I was pleasantly surprised and proud of him. It was a breakthrough. By the time the zoo decided to call off their rescue efforts 2 weeks after his release, Flaco could navigate the park and hunt with ease. It was lovely to see Flaco settle into a peaceful life in the park, picking locations to roost and hunt that other owls such as Geraldine, the great horned owl, and the Central Park snowy owl had used before. This told me Flaco's instincts were guiding him well. Along the way, we learned about Flaco's personality. He was resilient, of course. We already knew that. But he was also confident, intelligent, and curious. We were all shocked and worried last fall when Flaco suddenly left the park and began to explore the city. Eurasian Eagle Owls are highly adaptable and live in cities in Europe and Asia, but we knew that living outside Central Park would be more hazardous for him. Ultimately, we couldn't celebrate Flaco's freedom without accepting that he alone decided where his own wings would take him. And watching him confidently soar from tall building to tall building downtown, in the Upper East Side, and in the Upper West Side, it was clear to us that he was right where he wanted to be. When we marked Flaco's first year of freedom just a month ago, I dared to hope it was just the first of at least a few years Flaco would enjoy as a wild bird. He had avoided the hazards of the city so well to date, and he had earned the right to be free for more than just 1 year. As we now know, Flaco was thriving until he was not. In the end, he lived as a wild bird and died as a wild bird. Whether it was an accidental collision, rodenticide poisoning, lead poisoning, avian flu, or something else, Flaco had a fate that all too many other wild birds share in the city. Flaco was larger than life and is leaving behind a legacy to match. He never signed up to be an ambassador animal in the zoo, and he didn't sign up to be an ambassador for wild birds either. But I'm glad that his impact was recognized when the Bird Safe Buildings Act was renamed the Flaco Act. Giving his name to this important bill is just... Giving his name to this important bill is just one of many things we can thank Flaco for. I thank him today, as I did every day I got to see him, for the joy, awe, and wonder he inspired in us throughout his journey. Thank you.
Thank you, David and Jackie. I just wanted to also point out, we have Mike Hubbard here who started the petition for a bronze statue for Flaco here by the tree. So if you haven't already signed that petition, go, Mike, wave your hand again. Go find Mike, sign that petition, okay? We're trying to get 10,000 signatures. Those of you watching online, please sign that petition. We'd love to be able to memorialize Flaco here in the park. All right, so our next speaker is the infamous Nan, who Flaco visited for 3 hours as a peeping Tom. Nan has a beautiful poem that she wrote for Flaco. Give it up for Nan.
Hi guys, am I loud enough? Can you hear me? The day Flaco visited me, I totally fell in love, remain in love, and find it very hard to think of him in the past tense. But I decided to write this poem. My husband and I were out of the city. We were driving back into the city, and I was looking at the tops of some buildings, and I felt like they were empty, and I wasn't sure why I felt that way. And then I realized it's because I've been so used to seeing the pictures and the videos of Flaco on top of buildings. Excuse me. So that's when I decided to write this poem. It's called Flaco.
Bluetooth disconnected.
Keep going.
Keep going, okay. It's called Flaco, a celebration. The rooftops are empty, the railings are bare, and no graceful owl is seen cruising the air. There's no gentle hooting to soften the night, no gold brindled feathers to catch morning light. But Flaco was with us, a sudden surprise. Fresh out of his cage, he braved cold winter skies. From the trees, he looked down on this daunting new world, but he took it all on with wide wings unfurled. He spiraled the city, he'd dart and he'd spring. He could hunt like a pro and roost high as a king. He'd perk windswept ears, check out each sound he heard. He was curious, feisty, this beautiful bird. He'd puff out his chest, self-possessed and quite proud. Did you know that he played to a way-obsessed crowd? He had such a sweet face, and God knows he was smart. And those deep yellow eyes showed an innocent heart. So let's celebrate Flaco, the bird who flew free, and still see him perched on an old oaken tree.
Thank you, Nan. Iconic. Iconic. So we now have Jonathan here that is going to play a song about Flaco for us.
So I was fortunate enough to have Flaco visit visit me and my family up on West 87th Street, West End. And I'm a songwriter, and it just became, all of a sudden, Flaco became very personal. So I wrote a couple songs. I want to share this one. And feel free to join in. There's a bit of a chorus. Sunday night, moon shining bright, getting ready for bed, hear a voice in my head, then I hear it again, bellowing, sounds like a hoop, coming down from the roof, hoop, hoop. Now I'd read about that Eurasian Eagle Owl, escaped from the zoo and since been on the loose. Called a peeping Tom, but he kept his feathers on. Seen up and down, all over this town. Ooh, Flaco the Owl, up on my roof. Ooh, Flaco the Owl, I am so like you. Always wondering who. Feel free. Ooh. Ooh. Who with me? Ooh. 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 Very good. Now I did my research. You like to perch high above spots like the cliffs and the rocks. But your call for a mate meets a lonely fate. 'Cause your entire species lives overseas. Now I'm sure you've deduced that I'm lonely too. Can't seem to find my own maiden kind. Maybe she's out there with feathers in her hair. But whenever I call, there's no response at all. Ooh. Ooh. Ooh, Flaco the Owl, up on my roof. Ooh, Flaco the Owl, I am so like you. Always wondering who. 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 Who.
Apple Music, okay? All right, we're going to have Janet now, a community member, read a poem that she wrote about Flaco.
My name is Janet Wickler, and I wrote this the morning that I learned that Flaco died. It was the only way I could deal with grief. It's called Ode to Flaco. At Central Park, inside the zoo, at Central Park, inside the zoo, in Feb of 23, a silent someone slashed your cage and swiftly set you free. It happened in the dead of night, and no one saw or heard, when, liberated, you took flight, a lone, majestic bird. How wonderful it must have been to rise above the trees, to spread your 6-foot wings at last and soar upon the breeze. And as the city slept, you rose and flew into the park, where soon you found a comfy tree to roost on in the dark. What joy it must have been to leave your tiny little space, yet freedom held some challenges that you would have to face. You'd never hunted on your own. The experts thought you'd fail. The zoo folks tried to capture you and take you back to jail. So you set out to learn to hunt and catch your prey alive. And before long, you had the skills you needed to survive. With beauty, strength, and courage, and a passion to live free, you soon became a symbol of our love for liberty. Oh, Flaco, how you stole our hearts and won our admiration. For us New Yorkers, you were neighbor, friend, and inspiration. Your reputation grew and spread until your tale was known throughout the world. yet we rejoiced that Flaco was our own. For 1 full year and more, you brought us hope and love and joy. Yet tragedy awaited you, our dear beloved boy. You crashed into a building, and we don't yet know the reason. But we have lost a treasured friend this cold and bitter season. Your spirit lives on, Flaco, in our minds, our hearts, our love. You'll always be a part of us as your soul soars above. We'll miss you, Flaco, all our lives, and though we shed a tear, we're grateful that you graced us with your presence for a year.
Thank you for that beautiful poem, Janet. We have another community member, Lynn, that would like to say a few words. Hello, hello. You hear me, right? Hello. I wrote a letter to Flaco. Dear Flaco, not long after you escaped your cage, someone, maybe Jackie, maybe David, likely somebody at this memorial, shared a video of you hooting. Up to that point, I'd only seen still photographs. I replayed that clip over and over, amazed at the sounds you made. I later learned you would hoot nightly, often for hours. Some speculated they were pleas for companionship. Others said you were claiming your territory as an apex animal. Apparently at the zoo you hardly made a peep, so I came to think of your vocalizations as an assertion of your wildness, a declaration of your presence in the world at large. In the words of Descartes, I hoot, therefore I am. In early 2023, the world for me was muted. I was busy with my family, friends, and clients, and by all accounts was fine, better than fine. But the pandemic had taken a toll. Inside, I felt weary, cranky, and numb, much like the description of you in the zoo. So when you stretched your impossibly wide wings, I was surprised to feel such elation. I delighted at your plump legs and expressive face. I pumped my fist in the air as you eviscerated rat after rat. That you had a favorite tree, which we're here under, gave me such satisfaction. Every little thing you did released not only sadness and anxiety, but also joy and wonder that I had kept wrapped away. I'm thankful for you existed. I hope your calls finally get answered by a hot Eurasian Eagle Owl. Even though your hooting has departed, it remains a beacon. I will listen for you still. With love and marvel, Lynn. Absolutely beautiful. Yeah, we need a Flaco, right? Our next speaker is named Yoan, who lives in the neighborhood. And one of the beautiful things about Flaco was how Flaco touched people of all ages. It was truly an intergenerational impact that Flaco had. So let's give it up for Yoan.
So I'm not like a super fan or anything.
Smart guy. So I'm not really like a super fan or anything, but so when my parents first told me that Eurasian Eagle Owl first escaped from a zoo, I was like, wow, that's kind of cool. But I didn't really know if he had just like pulled up to Harlem 110 or like near me. And when we saw like a huge crowd with like tripods and stuff, we were like, oh, what's going on here? And then we realized that he was just there, and so we started like visiting him like 3 times every week. And he was like kind of, last year he was like a big part of my life, and it was just a lot of fun when he was around. Yeah.
Thank you, Yoan. Wow, 3 times a week.
right, our next speaker is also a musician, Elijah, who's going to say some words and then play a song that Elijah wrote for Flaco. While Elijah's setting up, I don't know if you hear some of the other birds that are chiming in with some words that they would like to say as well. Flaco had a lot of friends here in the park. Obviously the Blue Jays, the Crows, the Cardinals, the red-tailed Hawks. Oh, here we go. All right, showtime.
Hi everyone, I'm Elijah. So I have a project. In addition to being a musician, I've been a birder my entire life, and I have a project called City of Birds, which is music inspired by all the birds of New York City. And so I had to write one for Flaco. So here's my song. It's called A Postscript for Flaco, and it's so inspiring to see so many people out for a bird event. I only got to see Flaco in the wild once, but I'm very familiar with him from the zoo. And so here we go with postscript for Flaco.
We're so grateful that you shared your art with us. Yes, play by the oak tree anytime. All right, we have Kathy next that's going to say a few words. Give it up for Kathy.
Hi, everybody. When Flaco moved into Central Park, I came out here with my dear friend Denise and a couple of other birders in search of him. And the three of them saw him immediately, but I couldn't see him. And I kept saying, "Where is he? Where is he?" And they were all like, "Oh, there he is. He's so gorgeous. He's beautiful." And I was so upset that I couldn't see him. And then finally, there he was. And I jumped up and down and screamed like a child. I was giddy with excitement. It was one of those, for me, God moments, like seeing a whale next to a boat I was in, or scuba diving and seeing marine life, but it was more personal than that. And, Flaco, he didn't just survive. When he left the zoo, his instincts kicked in, and he thrived, and he still would have been thriving had it not been for human intervention. Whether it was that he collided with the building, or he was poisoned by rodenticide. It's humans' interference with wildlife instead of coexisting that's caused not just the death of Flaco, but 1 billion birds across the United States and Canada die every year from building collisions, whether it's light or reflective glass. And Flaco, unfortunately, and sadly, I mean, we're heartbroken. He is one of the roughly 200 or nearly 250,000 birds who die every year in New York City alone. And a couple of years ago, I started a coalition called Lights Out. And in the first 6 months that we were around, we got 2 bills passed in the city council that requires buildings, city-owned and 17,000 city-owned and city-leased buildings to turn off their lights at night or install motion sensors. And right now we are working with Councilwoman Tiffany Caban on 2 bills that are called Flaco's Laws that will require, the first one requires the 351,000 commercial buildings and 30,000 retail stores in New York City to turn off their lights at night. And the other one will require buildings to retrofit reflective glass so that birds don't crash into them. And thank you. And then the third bill with a different council member is going to be addressing the use of rodenticide, because we have to get rid of this poison. It's not killing just rats, it's killing a lot of animals and even children, human children. So anyway, if you're interested in the work that we do, I have some flyers. You can find me afterwards. And thank you so much for allowing me to speak. And I hope I see you again, Flaco.
Thank you, Kathy. Kathy's got some flyers telling you more about Lights Out if you want some more information. And then we have Mike here that's just going to say a few more words about this petition to get the statue of Flaco here in the park.
Woo! Is this a little bit louder? Is that better? Great. All right. How's everyone doing? My name's Mike Hubbard. And a little over a week ago, my friend Brandon Boyer-Chappell and I started a petition to get a statue for Flaco right here in Central Park, preferably right around here at this tree. And since then, we have garnered about 3,200 signatures with the help of people like David Barrett at Manhattan Bird Alert. We had Bill Hutchinson, did I see him here? I don't know. Hi, Bill. Bill over at ABC News. We had James Barron of the New York Times amplifying our signal. So also yesterday we had change.org, which is where I am hosting the petition. They actually tweeted out the petition to their 1.4 million followers on X. So hopefully that gets us some more signatures. And they also gave us a custom URL to make all of this a lot easier to remember instead of having a very, very long URL. It is just change.org/Flaco. Easy as that. So please, if you have not signed it already, throw your name on that and then also share it on social media, send it to your friends, your family, etc. Flaco's story does not have to end here. It does not have to end in tragedy. I think that this is a great opportunity for us to have a statue to inspire future birders, nature enthusiasts, to become stewards of the wondrous flora and fauna in this great city. So let's get this thing done. Sign the petition, share it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike, for setting that petition up. Sign the petition. You can also get in touch with our local council members about that. We have some other beautiful people in the neighborhood, Carolina and Gabriella. Let's give it up for them with their amazing shirts.
Okay, so one day when I was little, I went to the zoo, and I'm pretty sure that I saw him, and I was wondering, like, he looked so pretty, and he should be, I was thinking, like, he should be, like, free. He shouldn't be in that, like, little room in the zoo. And then when I heard out that he was free, I was, like, excited, and my family would always, like, point out, like, any, like, red hawk and say, that's Flaco, and I know they were joking, but I always wanted to, like, see Flaco, and I'm pretty sure that I saw him once, but I may not remember. And he like, it's like, I didn't know like it's like sad to see him like pass away like this early, just like 1 year in the wild. And like it's like cool to see like everyone here who like loves Flaco. And yeah. I'm just really happy to see all the flowers and that some people actually care about birds. A lot of people. And yeah. Thank you.
Well done. Good job. Good job.
Thank you both.
Well done.
We love that you're part of the Flaco fan club. All right, next we have Rosemary that is going to read a lovely poem.
Hi everybody, my name's Rosemary Fayal. First, thanks to all the birders and everyone who organized this. This poem is by Joseph Pisano, who asked me to read it. He is a poet, and he wrote this poem for Flaco inspired by Frank O'Hara's poem, Lana Turner Has Collapsed. When the news is horse dung, we step in on our way from 72nd to Strawberry Fields, when our hearts are flocks of the same old ghosts, the dead we abandoned to their captors. Then of course someone cut you from your prison. Of course a child chased you through the ramble, chased you from the Met to the reservoir with no one of your kind to find you. Of course it rains. Of course we are that child, dying for a wild thing to believe in. A small wild thing in its freedom that slips untouched through the buildings and is found by no one in the old snow. Oh, Heartbird, where were you going? Oh, Flaco, we need you. Get up.
Oh my gosh. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Rosemary. So now we have Judy that's going to say a few words about Flaco.
When I heard that Flaco escaped from the zoo, I have an artist with the same name, King Brick Flaco. So I had called him and told him, what are you doing in New York? You're flying around. He said, no, I'm not. I'm in D.C. And then when he seen the news, he said, so I've been praying every day for that, that he was okay. But not this Friday. Last Friday, I was on East 72nd Street. I went to see a friend, and I kept looking up at the skyscrapers, hoping to see him. And then that morning, I put the news on and messed my day up when I found out. But I'm an activist in Queens, and I'm against rodenticide, and the buildings that they put the windows up, they don't need to put windows that are shiny. You're confusing the birds. So Flaco's act is very important. Let's do this act.
Yeah.
Thank you, Judy. Next, we have Alexandra.
Hi, everyone. My name is Alexandra Wang. I'm a birding tour guide for NYC Audubon, and I give private birding tours called Avian Owls Urban Wildlife Tours. They're inclusive and accessible. So I'm going to read my letter to Flaco. It is in the form of a haiku poem. I addressed it and signed it to make it more personal. Dear Flaco, he gave us all joy, brought the city together. Keep spreading your wings. Thank you, Alexandra Wang.
Thank you, Alexandra. Next, we have Elaine.
Hello. I loved Flaco as we all did. He was such a symbol of strength and courage. And he reaffirmed for me that wild animals belong in the wild. If they can't be released into the wild, then a great huge sanctuary where they can be with their own kind and they can have a wild life. So I just think he was a wonderful symbol for all of us. And there was just a little line that I took from Shakespeare that says, good night, sweet prince.
Oh.
And angels sing thee to thy rest.
Oh.
with us. It wouldn't be his choice if he could pick where to live, but he chose us, and I thought that was really, really something. And even with his death, he's brought us all together on this beautiful, the first beautiful day really of 2024 to honor him and to honor this place. So we miss you, Flaco. We miss you.
Thank you so much. I agree. I mean, the first beautiful day of 2024. What a perfect day to be honoring Flaco. Next, we have Vicky.
Hi, I'm Vicky from Queens, and I never met Flaco personally, but I've been enjoying watching the people connect about Flaco online. Every time I saw someone love someone else's poem or love someone else's photo, it made me happier and happier and happier. So if I were to say thank you to Flaco, I would say thank you just by being yourself, for helping the members of our species to connect with each other.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
All right, we have one more speaker, Jackie, who's writing a allegory about Flaco.
Hello, I hope I don't cry. I probably will. I am a psychologist and a writer, and I work from home. You can hear me. I'm a psychologist and a writer. I live on the Upper West Side. And I first heard about Flaco while I was in a teletherapy session with a patient, and she saw Flaco outside her balcony on the Upper West Side. I had heard of him, but I didn't follow the story, so I immediately went on and began reading about him, and I was immediately obsessed with the absolute inspiration that he not only provided me, but all of New York, and then extending beyond New York. At some point, I thought, this is a story that I want to retell. Flaco's story, this story of a hero, and I could go on and on, but I think for me, like, one of the main things that he shows us as that a life well lived, honestly, authentically, as your true self, can inspire hundreds of thousands of people across the world. And I hope, I'm shaking because